Hi guys, this is Kerry Lynch. I was part of the EDS and Instructional Technology at KSU, and this is my capstone video reflection. My capstone was the building of a Google Classroom for technology tools and professional development at the school where I was teaching. So within this reflection video, I'm going to go over a brief introduction about my high school, statement of problem, go through the capstone project itself, discuss some of the evaluation plans, describe the capstone experience overall, and then reflect upon the project. So Campbell High School, what we've seen over the past 4 years is that we are consistently behind district targets in terms of graduation rates, Lexiles, college readiness, all of those indicators that lead into CCRPI. But we have seen steady growth over the past 4 years. And so while I was going through trying to identify some problems that we had, I noticed that teacher turnover is one of those continuing problems and is something that the district has even tried to target for every single school, right? The retention of really good teachers within the county. So our problem is that we have very high turnover at CHS. County turnover rates were around 9 to 12% per year as well, and this is true of Campbell High School. And so if we look at 9 to 12% per year, and we take that over a course of 5 to 7 years, we're looking at very few people who have stayed within Campbell High School for more than 5 years. This kind of leads to a question of how are we going to be able to increase CCRPI and increase student abilities, test scores in those senses, increase student learning targets when our faculty is always being refreshed and we don't have that ability to develop a long-term plan. The county has done the development of professional learning communities to try to mitigate that so that teachers are working collectively on certain subject matters. So what we noticed, though, or what I noticed, is that we oftentimes have an unfocused professional learning, once over sit and get professional learning from the old days that doesn't really do much to bridge that gap or to make sure that teachers have less of a burden on them. So my project proposal and plan was to build a Google Classroom specifically targeting the new teachers at CHS, whether these are people who are just new to our district or new to teaching in general. And what I wanted to do was provide these teachers with some resources related to our gradebook system, CTLS Assess, which is the Cobb Teaching and Learning System, where we can design tests and collect data that will be broken down demographically. And originally, I had planned to do an SLDS, State Longitudinal Data System, set of resources, but without the ability to white out or cover over student data, I decided against that. So I would then upload all of those resources to the Google Classroom, and teachers would engage with them, and then they could ask for additional support if necessary. So the types of things that I created, deliverables, first and foremost was a Google Classroom facts page for anyone who is unfamiliar with Google Classroom, especially in the guise of a student. So I actually set up a classroom using the campbellhigh.net domain that we have for our school, went in myself as a student, and then created a PDF handout with some step-by-step instructions showing teachers where they need to find resources. I created Synergy gradebook tools, both PDFs and screencasts, CTLS Assess, same thing, handouts and screencasts. And then I decided on providing teachers with a technology tool that they could use in their lessons called Flipgrid. The other thing that I did was I went out and I compiled a large section of the district resources for Synergy and CTLSS, and I put those in the classroom as well so the teachers could get extra support if needed. So my plan in the summer and during pre-planning, I actually set up the classroom, and again, We have a domain at chscampbellhigh.net, and what this allowed me to do was set up accounts for the new teachers and get them into the classroom so that they could start to participate. I also set up folders and easy to find methods in the Google Drive that would be shared with the classroom. I developed a needs assessment to determine if people needed extra support for the use of Google Classroom. And then I did a fact sheet to aid any first-time users, like I said in the previous slide. In the fall, what I did was create deliverables for the Synergy gradebook for August and September. I figured that would be the thing that the teachers would be using the most. So get them familiar with it, provide them with access to how to create a seating chart, how to set up their gradebook, some extra tools and tips, how to contact parents within the gradebook system itself. And so that was August to September. I uploaded them into the Google Classroom and asked the teachers to start engaging with them. I then moved on to CTLS Assess. This gave teachers the opportunity to get settled, get familiar with our school and with district policies. And then I set up CTLS Assess resources that allowed teachers to go in and start to play with these resources so that they could start to create assessments in there and then collect data that, again, could be broken down by demographics. And then again, like I said, the final resource was Flipgrid, and that was in October to November of the fall. That was, again, after deciding that SLDS and not being able to cover over student data was going to be a limiting factor in my ability to provide that as a resource. So here we can see some of the resources in the Classroom Drive. We have our handouts folder, videos folder, and then all of these assignments that had come in for each of those different videos. What the handouts allowed me to do was to provide step-by-step instructions to teachers. So what we can see in some of these, this is within the classroom itself, we can see some arrows and circles that kind of point out step-by-step what we should be doing. And then I would give instructions on each of them as well. The screencasts, right, they allowed me to go through and again provide step-by-step instructions, and just like in this screencast now, we use a highlighting mouse to direct learners to the correct spaces on the screen, and that allowed the learners to pause and play while going through the steps themselves on like a split screen if they needed to. In terms of evaluation, after every single source was used, teachers were asked to fill out a form reflecting on the training provided, and the form then asked learners if they needed to have extra training on it, or if they were able to reach their targeted goal. There was also a final form that was created to determine levels of competence and growth with the use of these resources after the semester was over. So reflecting on the process, collaboration with our leadership team. At the beginning of the proposal, I went with our leader. I went to our leadership, went to our district, to our building leadership, and I asked them if this would be a viable option for professional learning. And they agreed, saying that leaving it for new teachers would be a good way to get them into the building, get them familiar with practices and policies. It also gave me a chance to do needs assessments for Google Classroom and figure out if teachers needed extra support in that area. The capstone also allowed me to showcase my knowledge of the digital tools that we use on a regular basis within Cobb County for our gradebook system and for the CTLS Assess. The other thing that it demonstrated was my flexibility, right? Not being able to provide information for the state longitudinal data system forced me to move into another alternative, and that was Flipgrid. The final piece is smaller and less significant than what I was hoping for, but data analysis based on the reflection forms that teachers were doing after their engagement with the resources. So some successes that I noticed, and these were based more on conversations with teachers that were engaging in the classroom. They really enjoyed it, especially the resources that they weren't familiar with, like Flipgrid. Um, I actually expanded the classroom so that it included all teachers at Campbell if they would like. Again, not too many people participated. And that was one of the challenges that I faced, is that this was an optional professional learning for our new teachers. And so participation was somewhat limited. I wish there were some more teachers who would have come in and used the resources, or at least participated in the feedback forums. But having conversations with the teachers did show me that they were engaging with the resources. The other thing that I would have liked was some buy-in from school leadership as an alternative to professional learning or required professional learning that all students, that all of our new teachers were going through, because these resources were at their own pace, self-directed, these things that are the adult learning model. So final thoughts, there were informal feedback from my colleagues showed that this was a success, and that they would like to see more resources devoted to technology tools like Flipgrid, so things that teachers can use in their classroom on a regular basis. And that's my plan going forward, is to continue updating the classroom, especially for teachers at Campbell, with new methods of using technology tools in their classroom, whether that be VR, resources like Flipgrid, right? The use of Excel spreadsheets, whatever the case may be. The other thing that I found as a success overall was just coaching and building relationships in a coaching model. It gave me some practice in that vein as well. So overall, wonderful experience with the Capstone project, and I look forward to expanding my classroom in the future.